Good morning, CLC. Thank you for being here, whether you're in the room. We appreciate you being here or virtually on this broadcast. Thank you for sharing in this Sunday with us. We're very happy to have you. So with that, now we come to our inner healing time. I invite you in this moment to just relax. Allow your body just to settle in your seats or chair, bed, wherever you may be. Allow your mind now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. In visualizing this idea as already acted upon and brought to pass, in seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words, I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and sharing confidence and gratitude and saying, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being here today. If you're new with us in the room, if you're new with us online, please give us your contact information so we can bombard you with details about coming activities and pester you until you become a member and, that kind of stuff. As people get away and I'm like, oh man, I didn't meet them. So I had a weird thing happen this week. I went to my In Tune with the Infinite book. This is a series we're working through. I have 2 copies of this. They're both very old. The one I leave at home is older. I went to this one. I don't know where I got this one. The other one had been in the family for years. This is from for Ted from Ida Marie. It's inscribed. I don't know Ted and Ida Marie. But somebody through whose hands this passed had a bookmark in it. And I want to share this with you because this is really sweet. It's from the Church World Service of Elkhart, Indiana. It says on the back of the bookmark. It's an old bookmark. Looks like 1970s vintage. And there's part of a poem called Someday. Someday the circle will be as a rainbow, colors blending together and showing beauty even in a storm. Someday an arrow will be broken, not in something or someone, but by each of humankind to indicate peace, not violence. Someday oneness with, rather than domination over, creation will be the goal to be respected. Someday fearlessness to love and make a difference with and for one or many will be experienced. Then the eagle will take our message of peace and love, and the people of all communities can sit in the same circle together to communicate in love and experience the presence of the great mystery in their midst. And this is by Wanda Lawrence, member of the Chippewa Nation. Isn't that gorgeous? Someday. How about today? How about this week? How about on this block? So we're learning here through this material and all the material that we consider the power of this moment to make a difference, the power of this moment to use your mind along certain lines. And that brings us to our friend Ralph Waldo Trine, author of In Tune with the Infinite, who writes this: reason is not to be set aside, but it is to be continually illumined by this higher spiritual perception. And in the degree that it is thus illumined, will it become an agent of light and power. When one becomes thoroughly individualized, they enter into the realm of all knowledge and wisdom. And to be individualized is to recognize no power outside of the infinite power that is back of all. When one recognizes this great fact and opens themselves to the infinite spirit of wisdom, they then enter upon the road to the true education, and mysteries that were closed now reveal themselves. This must indeed be the foundation of all true education, this evolving from within, this evolving of what has been involved by the infinite power. Ernest Holmes uses that expression too about involution and evolution. You involve yourself with an idea for it to involve and form, and that's really what we're talking about today, which is that to attract from without, you engage within. You do the work within and you attract something from without yourself. Here's the key to that, is to realize there is no with outside yourself. There is no other. There is no external reality. There's only consciousness. There's subjective consciousness and there's objective consciousness. Subjective consciousness is what goes on inside of you. Objective consciousness is when subjective consciousness congeals into form, takes shape as a thing. Over the years, I've used this piano as an example, okay? An idea congealed as the piano. That idea is not captured in that piano. The idea lives on independent of the piano, but the piano would not exist without the idea behind it. The same is true of all things in form. And it is said that the creative spirit of the universe would not be satisfied to just be subjective, to just have an idea of a thing if it couldn't also manifest the thing. And by the thing, such as the piano being manifested, we all get to enjoy it. If you just had an idea of piano in your head, only you would be happy with it. And even then, it would only be partially realized. So you want the form. Now, once the piano's in form, once anything's in form, congealed in form, it begins to gradually disintegrate and redistribute itself back into potential. The objective always returns to the subjective. So everything that we say is permanent and solid, everlasting in form, that's just how we choose to think of it. But really, it's making its way back into pure potential. To never be disappointed in the process of life is to focus on the potential more so than the form. To realize that though the object of love may change, the object of prosperity may move out of the picture, the principle never diminishes and can always be called upon again. We do this through spiritual work. We do it through meditation and affirmative prayer. And that was something I wanted to bring up today about how we pray, because I get this a lot about how am I expected? I think I even talked some about this last week. How should I be expected? How should I expect myself to live in a state of perpetual, relentless positivity, especially given the givens, in the world such as it is at this time? Or the world such as it was when he wrote this book, or when he wrote the new foreword to it 40 years later, 40 years after the first publication of this book, as he was still on the planet. He said, well, things are still a mess in the world, but what I said in the book is, still holds true if you'll apply this. Well, how are we supposed to maintain relentless positivity in the face of circumstances? And the answer is you're not. Give yourself a break. You're not. What we are to maintain, I believe, if you'll join me in this idea, is intense positivity in short bursts, called treatment, called spiritual work. You go into your closet to pray. That's a biblical line. You go into the sacred space, the upper room, the place of the Most High. You go there, and in that place there are no distractions. In that place there's no opposition. There's no duration. Okay? No time, no space. And in that place you focus. So how to get this across? I say that and it kind of sits there. So I was thinking this week, need an example, need a method for the method. Need a method behind the method. And what came to me is acting. Okay? Do you act? Have you ever acted? Have you ever been in a play? In school? I started out as a shepherd, personally, with a crook. I didn't have a speaking line. There were multiple shepherds. This was a Christmas pageant in a cathedral. The Holy Family had lines. The Three Kings had lines. I had a crook. I stood there, marked my spot, It's just, you just stand there and try not to act out or get anything wrong. And then I did some other things that did involve speaking lines, but I know just enough to be dangerous about acting. But I do know this, okay? You go into character. You go into character. You leave aside for the time your own personality, your own style, your own wit, okay? And you memorize some lines and you deliver them from inside the character that you were supposed to be. If that's a comic character, a tragic character, somewhere in between. You maintain character. And when the play's over, you come back to the personality that you were. And it's amazing to watch people who act, especially stage acting, where you get one take, and you run it all the way through. And then the next week they're reading some new part for some new performance, and they're having to memorize all of that. What I'm suggesting is in your spiritual work, in your treatment work, go into character. Go into character. And I'll suggest to you the character. The character is of someone who knows that they are one with the source of all that is. So if you don't yet feel like you are one with the source of all that is, imagine that you are. If for no other purpose than this performance of your life that you're rehearsing for by going into character and being in this space. This is a fancy dressed up way, as some of you have already sniffed out, of saying fake it till you make it. But it's a little more elaborate than that, to go into the character of one. See, a lot of times we're like, well, I'd love to, but I don't know this stuff, and you don't know my background, and blah, 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 and I've made all of these kind of mistakes, and we have all of these reasons why we can't do this. But when you go out for an audition, I don't imagine that they ask you, have you always been a nice person? Have you never made any mistakes in your life? They want to know, can you read these lines, memorize these lines, and deliver them in a convincing way? If so, we'll consider you. That's all you have to start with. And so this is what we do in treatment. We leave aside the story of who we are and how we got this way and how long it's been this way and on and on. And we just go into the character of someone who knows that they are one with the source of all that is. And we act like that, and we speak our word from that. And you know what happens, of course, is gradually the character overtakes your personality. And you get to keep your sense of humor. You get to keep your silliness. You get to keep your quirkiness, your eccentricity. And believe me, New Thought people are eccentric, quirky folk. I've been around them, almost 50 years now. And it's true. I've traveled around and met other New Thought, quirky, eccentric people in other places, and it's just something that we all share. You get to keep that. Or if you're a deeply serious, introspective person or whatever, you get to keep that. If you're young or old or middle-aged and you're kind of doing that style, you get to keep that. But something will overtake your personality with the idea that you are one with the source of all that is. And if you're one with the source of all that is, then you're one with everything that emanates from that source, meaning you're one with everybody else. And you're one with everything else. And there's no way. We look for a way around this sometimes. It's like, do I really have to be one with everything in order to manifest the life of my dreams? Can't I just carve out this little spot of private resentment, distance and opposition and tension and stuff, manifest the life of my dreams? The short answer, really short answer, no. No. You can't. To the degree that we hold on to a sense of separation, to that degree, in the big circle of life, there's a pie-shaped slice cut out of it called, here's where you believed in separation. And now there's a gap there that has to be bridged from one side to the other as you traverse the circle. It's much easier to just realize all people are one. Now this gets into practicality, which we'll take up actually next week, about how to get along with other people. I'm sorry you have to wait a week for it, but I can't do everything today. So I've got to move on here. The basic idea is to realize that everybody has motives and intentions and ambitions and goals and desires and stuff, issues, just like you, just like me, just like everybody. But the subjective mind, all of that's on the objective side. Even though some of it is silent and internal, on the subjective side, there's just oneness. On the subjective side, we're all connected with each other. None of us is an island. Everybody's good is intertwined with everybody else's. Where do you think your next demonstration is coming from? It's coming from another godling. Everything that we do is transactional. And to move ahead in that regard of manifestation, here's a hack. And the hack is to realize that you are everybody else's demonstration. To not simply look at ourselves as receivers of incoming good, but to see ourselves as managers and distributors of ever circulating good, entails recognizing that you're bringing somebody their answer. You're bringing somebody their relief. You're bringing somebody their food on the 28th of August in Oak Ridge High School parking lot. Applause. On the on the objective side, it looks like here's some food. Here's some food. Thank you. Have a nice day. Here's some food. People in the cars, God bless you. God bless you. Tears streaming down. That's the objective. The objective side alone is good enough. People get fed. You know, it's like if I show up in a miserable mood, people get fed. If I show up, I don't want to be here, people get fed, right? That's the objective side. The subjective side is, oh my God, the connections that we forge, sometimes spoken, and we've told you these stories here on Sundays when we come back from these things about the amazing people that we meet and the synchronicities of how they hear about it and their story that brought them there. And that's just when it's conveyed in words, but the feeling that you have of how all of this comes together, how you're really putting yourself in the midst of the divine flow by supporting these fellow godlings in the world. There is, dare I say it, a payoff to each of us. We showed up and did something that supported objectively the subjective awareness of oneness. Now, that's not the reason to do it. People say, well, that's a lousy reason to do it. It's like you don't give to get, you know. But I would be remiss if I didn't point that out as a result. Your life works better when you place yourself in the midst of that kind of circulation and affirm that sort of oneness, that there is absolutely no other. We are all just one. So you go into character and you speak your word in character as though you were one who absolutely got it, that you're connected to everyone and everything else until you do get it, until that becomes the dominant consciousness of your life. And back to the relentless positivity, even with that dominant consciousness in your life, you will still from time to time forget because somebody will cut you off on the freeway and all of a sudden you're alone. And there are difficult people out there making strange and foolish choices and so forth. And all of a sudden or you read the news and you're moved emotionally, you're terrified, and you feel alone and small and powerless and helpless. What do you do then? Go back into character as soon as you can. There is one life. That life is source. The people of Haiti are suffering today in a way that is boggling. These people have been through so much, especially in the last 10 years. Earthquakes, hurricanes, an assassination, a coup attempt, poverty, COVID, AIDS, you name it. There is a power. There is a power that can be gone to, and one should not expect the people of Haiti to be the ones who have to go to it this morning and step out of their pain and step out of their suffering and go to that place of clear knowing and go into character. So we will. So we will. I will. Reverend Lisa will when she speaks the word. Okay? And you will. And all watching will. We'll go to the place that has never known upset, has never known trouble. There is such a place. and will leave aside, not just for the time, but permanently and forever, the matters and consciousness of, well, how did they create this? Or why is all this trouble happening to them? Or because it's not happening to me, therefore I must be a spiritually connected, superior human being, a highly evolved state, because my life is pretty good today. You want your life to come crashing down around your ears? That's a way to start it. Okay? That absolutely is. As soon as there is this certain arrogance of specialness and privilege and all the rest of this, it's, well, in the Hebrew Testament, they use the word smite. They use the word smite. And I'm not here to alarm anybody, but because, why? It's another way of telling the subconscious mind, I'm cut off from the others. Cut off from the others, you cut your own supply line. So, we're going to know this. We're going to know this, the people of Afghanistan, the people in the Northwest with the fires. They had a flood in El Paso yesterday. Do you really want the news feed from me? No, you don't. You have your own. It's ubiquitous now. I was talking with somebody the other day. There used to be 2 daily papers in Houston. Do you remember this? You've been around long enough. The Post and the Chronicle. And the Post was the morning paper and the Chronicle was the evening paper. And so if you didn't want to see all the headlines till you got home from work, you took the Chronicle and it was there about 5 o'clock on your doorstep, and then you could sit there with it and you could take it all in. But it didn't have moving video. It was in black and white mostly, except for Sundays. And you could go quickly past it to the sports and comics and all like that. Well, today the news it's everywhere. You have like a constant feed of it coming at you. That's why we go into character more often. I'm treating more now than I ever have. And I've treated daily for a long time. And now it's not quite hourly, but I mean it's a lot. And a lot of stuff is getting set aside so that I can go into treatment. Not simply because there's suffering humanity everywhere, but for me, because I needed to stay centered, to stay strong in order to keep my vision going in life. Go into character. Go into character. And you have help. Because when a playwright writes a play, they create a story. With a big cast, or some of the best plays have a cast of 2, 3, 4 people who may never leave the room they're in. They just sit there talking to each other. And it's an engaging and powerful play. But it's made up. It has pieces of reality, something the playwright has experienced or has heard somebody else's experience that they built into. But it's fiction. It's fiction. So you go into character in the play, you're going into a fictitious state. You go into character in treatment, you're going into truth. Going into the truth of your own being, who you really are. Who each of us really is, back of all stories, back of all pretense. There is one life, and that life is spirit, and that life is our life right now. And it matters not what name of God you worship or which sacred scripture you pore over or any of that. That's all wonderful and good and inspiring and uplifting and beside the point. Because the point is, it's in you. And that's one thing I love about this man's book. He says you don't get it from a book. He writes a whole book to tell you don't get it from a book. You come to the end of this, well, shucks. I bought this book to be in tune with the infinite. I thought if I read it, I'd be in it. No, all he does is drive you back within yourself. Look within, look within, look within. That's a powerful spiritual book that tells you that is ego-free, that steps back from the voice of authority and says, as Emerson did, okay, faith that rests on authority is not faith. It is obedience. And something greater is asked from us, which is to explore, man, the last place a lot of us would like to go. You know, I'd rather go to Jerusalem and the holy sites and Mecca and Medina and all the Sedona for that matter, all of the sacred places of the world, and look for the guru who has the message and take their instructions and go follow them. I'd 100,000 times rather do that than look within myself. Because within myself, it's a little scary. It's a little alarming. Me, I am in charge of my own reality. I am shaping my own destiny. Yes, indeedy, I sure am. And those gurus and messiahs that I would encounter elsewhere, if they're plugged in and doing their work and honestly to be trusted, will tell me the same thing. They'll say you have to go within yourself and you have to find this thing there. So what I ask of all of us in the coming week and beyond, in your spiritual time, think of this. Say, well, right now I'm not feeling it. It's Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling like I'm one with the source. I just read the news, or I just bounced a check, or I just had the sniffles, or... Yeah, I hate to bring this up, but the COVID numbers. You heard Montgomery County Food Bank, the COVID numbers across the creek here, Montgomery County, where I live, a number of you live, highest yet since this whole thing began. I look at that and I think, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I'm worried. So I'll step into character. How would I be if I weren't worried? How would I be if I knew the one? How would I be if I felt this immediate, unmediated, as he also points out, uncoached connection with the source of all that is? How would I feel if I were that person? How would I feel? And I'll go into that character and I'll speak my word there. And my immune system will strengthen. My spiritual immune system will strengthen. My compassionate heart will open. Good things will happen. Good things will follow subjectively and ultimately objectively. So let's know this together now. There is one life, there is one source, one power. And I'm going to speak the word here briefly, directly. This is sort of a laser treatment right now, picking out of all of the world of people who might use something this morning. I'm thinking of the people of southwestern Haiti, on the island of Hispaniola. And I'm knowing that right where each of them is right now, there is the power that made them, that has never left them. And it's restoring, and it's enlivening, and it's healing, and it's comforting, and it's uplifting, and it's doing things that I have no capacity at this moment to imagine, but it does, and it knows. And as I speak this word about these godlings with whom I share this pedigree of spirit in form, I do so from a place of connecting in myself with that one, powerfully, beautifully, and it expands by the moment, so that wherever beings suffer, this word is heard and felt and resounds. Just as the knowing that each one within the sound of my voice is having at this moment is heard and resounds throughout creation for the benefit of all. So that someday, Sunday, this day, all arrows might be broken, all enmities cease, all struggle, all pain be lifted. And there truly is peace on earth, a dynamic, creative, engaged sort of peace. As we join together as one. For this knowing and its manifestation in form, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now, calling it done, and so it is.
And now we come to giving time. I want to thank each and every one of you for giving to our service, whether it be just you being here, whether it be financially supporting us. Everything that you give is greatly appreciated. We thank you for that. As our ushers make their way to the back in order to get the baskets, you'll get a link in chat in just a minute, so you can give there if you're virtually. And now our musicians, oh, no. We have to bless our giving first. Excuse me. I know. I remember now. Thank you, guys. I invite everyone to say with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
I'm going to lose the feeling in my thumb by the end of the day. I have shocked myself every time I have touched the iPad today. Yay. Okay. I'm not awake. I've been awake for several hours and I'm not awake. And I will tell you the reason why I'm not awake is because I attended a spiritual retreat Friday and Saturday. So my brain is still processing. And my body is like, I'm done. But I learned two things that I want to give to you. Well, I learned a lot, but I'm going to give you two of the things that I learned. Because Jesse was talking about the givens. And right now, the givens are, well, but what I learned was there are two ways that you can make your body feel safe. One is by closing your eyes. Sounds counterintuitive, right? You only close your eyes when you're safe. So if you need to calm your body down, close your eyes. Now, ideally, you will do it in a place that you are safe. You're sitting down, not walking through, what have you. Close your eyes. The other thing is a simple breath technique, and we talk about breathing a lot. We don't think about it, but we talk about it. The simple act of inhaling and exhaling, but you exhale a little bit longer than you inhale. It tells your body you're safe and will allow your body to relax and calm down. So those are two things that I learned yesterday. So when you are getting into character, close your eyes, inhale, exhale a little bit longer. You might also consider standing up straight, taking some pressure off that vagus nerve, planting your feet so that you are grounded, and then dropping your shoulders so that they're not hunched up around your ears, so that your body is relaxed. Because it's a whole lot easier to feel like one with everything when your body is relaxed. And when your body is relaxed, your mind will follow. So in that knowing, I know that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. I'm a part of that love. That love flows through me, in me, as me. And as it flows through me, so too do I know that it flows through each and every one of you. That love flows through you. It surrounds you. It carries you. So as we speak our word for those people in Haiti, for those people in the fires in the West, for those people dealing with the flood in El Paso, we speak our word in love. We speak our word in power. We speak our word in presence. We know that the resources are moving now. that the divine love is filling those people, bringing them comfort, bringing them love, reminding them that they are not other, that they are one, that we know them, we see them, we acknowledge them, and we reach out to them. That we are one. And I relax, I release, and I know in gratitude, all of these things happen in that place where time does not exist, which means they're happening now. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through
I
me.
feel it in my body.
I feel it in my
I
body.
feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my
I
mind.
feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose
I
it.
trust it.
I trust
I
it.
use it.
I use
And
it.
I love it.
And I love
So
it.
it is.
And so it is.